God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, the wisdom to know the difference. Hey y'all, this is me, Miss Sonia C. I am going to start reading chapter 5 of Pathway to Serenity. I want to finish this. I'm not going to finish it tonight. I'm only going to read for about 20 minutes or so because I need to go to bed. I was up a little late last night, a little too late. I don't want to do that. Um, so this is chapter 5, and it's called Peace Be Still. Remember, this is Pathway to Serenity. This, yes. All right. Lock the door. Okay. Have a good night. Be safe. Okay. So this is chapter 5. Peace be still. God had called me back from the ends of the earth so that I might serve him. Great. Now what? For the first time, I had seen serenity and I wanted more. Yes, I had found the end of myself. It was time for me to let God take the reins and lead me down a path of serenity and peace. I wasn't exactly sure how, but I knew I couldn't go on as I had been. Only God knew the path for me. He had the answer. He wanted to give me serenity. I just needed to listen. As I look back on my life and the darkness that had cloaked my being, it occurs to me that I didn't even know what peace was. How could I know? I needed something when in fact I didn't even know what it looked like. Peace is defined as one, the absence of war or other hostilities, two, an agreement or a treaty to end hostilities, three, freedom from quarrels and disagreement, harmonious relations, living in peace with each other, four, public security and order, was arrested for disturbing the peace. Five, inner contentment, serenity, peace of mind. Six, in the state of tranquility, serene, she is at peace with herself and her friends. Seven, free from strife. Everyone wants to live in a world at peace. Isn't it interesting how so many of the definitions refer to a type of battle, ending, hostility, free from quarrels and disagreement, security and order. Wow, to think there was a battle going on inside of me brings out everything into perspective. It is now obvious that I needed to do some work on myself in order to achieve peace. I finally realized that I didn't have the answers, and was that was my first step in achieving inner peace. I had been living in a state of being that was opposite of what I desired. I was through with hostility, tired of disagreements. I needed inner contentment to go on. I knew that if I didn't make my way toward a state of tranquility, that hopelessness would consume me. I was tired of hurting those around me. Yes, I was ready. I turned to God, and in him I found peace. I need your peace. Lord, I need your peace. I just can't cope today. I've tried and tried to calm this storm, but it just won't go away. So now I come, I'm asking you, I need you to show your grace. I need to draw into your presence. I need to seek your face. For in your presence there is fullness. The joy of you is my strength. I will follow your I will follow the directions you give me. I will walk with you the length. Thank you for peace, the kind that will last. Thank you for telling me that this too shall pass. Deanna Allen. In Genesis 27:40, it says, "And it shall come to pass when thou shalt have the dominion that thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck." What in the world is dominion? The biblical term is talking taking something by force. It means to rule, have dominion, dominate, tread down, or to scrape or scrape out. So it, whatever it may be in your life, shall come to pass when we have the dominion over it. Mine, the unmanageability of my life, was certainly a yoke around my neck. What a reassuring thought that this could someday be broken off. It sounds similar to going to war. And I knew that I wanted this thing called peace bad enough to dig down deep for the strength to fight the battle. But the strength was a gift from God. He held my hand and led me through that battle. It says in Psalms 144, 1 and 2, Blessed be the Lord my strength, which teacheth my hands to war and my fingers to fight. My goodness, and my fortress, my high tower, and my deliverer, my shield, and he whom I trust. I want to share with you a story. I want to share a story with you that best illustrates the first step I had to take in order to fight this battle towards peace. I read this story in a book by Joanna Weaver called Having a Merry Heart in a Martha World. The story is told of a man who met God in a loving valley one day. How are you doing? How are you this morning? God asked the fellow. I'm fine, thank you, the man replied. Is there anything I can do for you today? Yes, there is, God said. I have a wagon with 3 stones in it, and I need someone to pull it up the hill for me. Are you willing? Yes, I love to do something for you. Those stones don't look very heavy, and the wagon's in good shape. I'd be happy to do that. Where would you like for me to take it? God gave the man specific instructions, sketching a map in the dust at the side of the road. Go through the woods and up the road that winds up the side of the hill. Once you get to the top, just leave the wagon there. Thank you for your willingness to help me today. No problem, the man replied and set off cheerfully. The wagon pulled a bit behind him. The wagon pulled a bit behind him, but the burden was an easy one. He began to whistle and he walked quickly through the forest. The sun peeked through the trees and warmed his back. What a joy to be able to help the Lord, he thought, enjoying the beautiful day. Just around the third bend, he walked into a small village. People smiled and greeted him. Then at the last house, the man stopped him and asked, How are you this morning? What a nice wagon you have. Where are you off to? Well, God gave me a job this morning. I'm delivering these 3 stones to the top of the hill. My goodness, can you believe it? I was just praying this morning. I was just praying this morning about how I was going to get this rock I have up to the top of the mountain. The man told him with great excitement, You don't suppose you can take it up there for me? It would be such an answer to prayer. The man with the wagon smiled and said, Of course, I don't suppose God will mind. Just put it behind the other 3 stones. Then he set off with the 3 stones and a rock rolling behind him. The wagon seemed a bit heavier. He could feel the jolt of each bump, and the wagon seemed to pull to one side a bit. The man stopped to adjust the load, and he sang a hymn of praise, pleased to be helping out a brother as he served God. Then he set off again and soon reached another small village at the side of the road. A good friend lived there and offered him a glass of cider. You're going to the top of the hill, his oldest friend asked. Yes, I am. I'm so excited. Can you imagine? God gave me something to do. He said to his friend, I need this bag of pebbles taken up. No, hey, said his friend. I need this bag of pebbles taken up. I've been so worried that I might not get I may not get taken care of since I haven't any time to do it myself, but you could fit it right between the three stones here in the middle. With that, he placed his burden in the wagon. Shouldn't be a problem, the man said. I think I can handle it. He finished the cider, then stood up and brushed his hands on his overalls before gripping the handle of the wagon. He waved goodbye and began to pull the wagon back onto the road. The wagon was definitely tugging on his arm now, but it wasn't uncomfortable. As he started up the incline, he began to feel the weight of the three stones, the rock, and the pebbles. Still, it felt good to help a friend. Surely God would be proud of how energetic and helpful he'd been. One little stop followed another, and the wagon grew fuller and fuller. The sun was not above, no, the sun was hot above the man pulling it, and his shoulders ached with the strain. The songs of praise and thanksgiving that filled his heart had long since left his lip, and resentment began to build inside. Surely this wasn't what he had signed up for that morning. God giving him a burden heavier than he could bear. I'm sorry. The wagon felt huge and awkward as it lumbered and swayed over the ruts in the road. Frustrated, the man was beginning to have visions of giving up and letting the wagon roll backward. God was playing a cruel game with him. The wagon lurched, and the load of obligations collided with the back of his legs, leaving bruises. This is it, he fumed. God can't expect me to haul all of this all the way up the mountain. Oh, God, he wailed. This is too hard for me. I thought you were behind this trip, but I'm overcome by all the heaviness of it. You'll have to get someone else to do it. I'm just not strong enough. As he prayed, God came to his side. Sounds like you're having a hard time. What's the problem? You gave me a job that is too hard for me, the man sobbed. I'm not, I'm just not up to it. God walked over to where the wagon was, braced with the stone. What is this? He held up a bag of pebbles. That belongs to John, my good friend. He didn't have any time to bring it up himself. I thought I would help. And this, God tummed two pieces of shell over the side of the wagon as the man tried to explain. God tumbled two pieces of shawl over the side of the wagon as the man tried to explain. God continued to unload the wagon, removing both light and heavy items. They dropped onto the ground, the dust swirling up around them. The man who had hoped to help God grew silent. If you will be content to let others take their own burdens, God told him, I will help you with your I will help you with your task. But I promise I would help. I can't leave these things lying here. Let others shoulder their own belongings, God said gently. I know you are trying to help, but when you are weighted down with all these cares, you cannot do what I have asked of you. The man jumped to his feet, suddenly realizing the freedom God was offering. You mean I only have to take three stones after all? He asked. That is what I asked you to do, God smiled. My yoke is easy and my burden is light. I will never ask you to carry more than you can bear. I can do that, said the man, grinning from ear to ear. He grabbed the wagon handle and set off once again, leaving the rest of the burdens beside the road. The wagon still lurched and jolted lightly, but he hardly noticed. A new song filled his lips, and he noticed a fragrant breeze wafting over the path. With great joy, he reached the top of the hill. It had been a wonderful day, for he had done what the Lord had asked. Time to start unloading my wagon. Could it really be that simple? Does my peace start? Does my peace? Hold on, where am I at? Uh, does my peace start with me unloading my wagon? I can relate to the man in this story. I feel that somewhere in my journey, my burden, my load became much too heavy for me to bear. I was not going it I was not going to make it. Excuse me one second. Excuse me. Excuse me. Turn those off now. I can hear them in here. Turn them off. Off. Sorry. I was not going to make it to my destination at the rate I was going. I'm almost done with this chapter. I was ready to throw myself over the edge, forget about the stinking wagon. And yes, too many times I blamed and cursed God. I had felt that He had given me too heavy a load to carry. Let me tell you a little about the boulders and even the pebbles that I picked up along my journey to the top of the mountain. I took on a weight of two boulders I called guilt and shame. These were given to me when I was raped. They were not mine to carry. Although they ended up in my wagon, a bag of pebbles from my parents' divorce was also in my wagon. I called some of these pebbles anger, rejection, abandonment, betrayal, and neglect. I also carried the weight of physical and verbal abuse. A stone ended up working its way from my wagon to my heart. Here, the stone became the heaviest burden of all. I too, like the man, I too, like the man, had to be willing to unload my wagon. I had to learn about two words that I now consider tools in my life. They are acceptance and forgiveness. I had to accept that other people had loads of their very own. Every human I know has issues of the same sort. Some people's issues are very different than mine, and some very much the same. Either way, they are their burdens to carry, not mine. That is where my joy had been lost. I didn't have a choice in the horrible things that happened to me. I was indeed a victim. It was a tragedy. But what is more tragic is that into my adult life, my inability to release those burdens dragged me down by harboring hatred and unforgiveness, by believing that I deserved it or brought it on myself somehow. I was indeed tightening the yoke around my own neck. Remember the scripture? Thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck. The battle is for the Lord. It is not mine to fight. I am a weary warrior who has come home to rest. I needed to take stock of my wagon and figure out what actually belonged to me. I had carried the weight of so many other people for so long that it seemed like it can take a lifetime to sort through, but it didn't. If your burden is too heavy today, or you feel like you would just rather quit your trip to the top of the mountain altogether, then I'd like to share with you some words of encouragement. God is faithful, He is strong, He is a mighty tower of refuge and strength. God created you and had a unique plan for your life before you were even formed in your mother's womb. He knows you inside out. He knows what is good for you and what is not. He knows what you are going through, and He wants to help you through it. He doesn't want to see you dragged down by the weight of unnecessary burdens in your life. He has provided a peace that does pass all understanding and wants to show you how to obtain it. He wants very much to turn around every unmanageable situation you are facing today, no matter how large it may seem. God wants to see good things coming from your heart, from your life. He wants to bless you. When you have done all you can do to stand, then you need to just stand some more. You must never become tired of doing what is right. God will make a way. Will you just let go and let God? That was good. That was chapter 5. That was chapter 5. Okay. Thank you so much for that. I'm glad that you are enjoying it as much as I'm enjoying reading it. I'm going to conclude reading any more of this tonight. I'm going to commit to at least reading a chapter. It's a really, really, really thin book. It's super thin. I've already read this much and I got this much left. Oops. See, it's really, really thin. I've already read this much. I have this much left. So this is called Pathway to Serenity. It chokes me up every single time when I read the beginning. So I think I'm I'm past. So I have never read this before. Actually, I really don't like to read at all, but somebody gave this to me and it speaks to my spirit, and it just reminds me that somebody else has walked in my shoes before, just with different socks. And if they can do it, I can do it. I can do all things through Christ who strengthened me. You can do all things through Christ who strengthened you. Um, and that's what this is about, spreading the message of hope and love to another person. Everybody, has their own unique story, but somebody could relate. Thank you. Thank you, Tamara. I appreciate that. And I was always one of them kids at school that never felt comfortable with reading. Like, I used to stutter. And so this is like good therapy for me, just to read and step out of my, step out of my shell. But yeah, no, thank you for joining me. And this is my journey, my recovery journey. And yeah, I know my page, I mean, my YouTube, I I go over, I talk about just so much. You know, I'm 7 months in, my recovery, and it's just taking me one day at a time. I'm learning day by day more about myself. And so if you are new, please hit the subscribe, hit the thumbs up, share it with somebody. I would love to be of service. Well, thank you so much, and God bless you. I hope you have a blessed night. I gotta make sure that my kids are, I gotta we gotta say our prayers. So God bless you and have a good night. Keep me in your prayers, and I'll keep you in mine as well.